Hey guys, my name's Emily Hoover and today I'm going to talk about branding. I'm going to cover some of the basics so you have a base knowledge of branding when you go to collaborate with your designer. I'm also going to cover some tips and tricks on how to prepare for your design meeting as well as work with a designer. But quick little background about me. I'm currently a designer at 434 Marketing in downtown Lynchburg, but I'm also a freelance designer and I recently just launched my own stationery company called Prickly Pear Paper, and the online store will be launching later this year. I've done branding for all sorts of people, from indie music artists to authors as well as larger corporate businesses. And the branding packages have been very technological oriented, very sleek, very modern, all the way to extremely artsy, hand-lettered calligraphy. I've kind of done the gambit of design for logos. As you can see here, some of my examples from my freelance design. There are a lot more on the artsy side, and those are my favorite to do, so I'm gonna have those in my presentation. So now that you know a little bit about me, I'm gonna start diving right into the basics of branding. This is something you need to take extremely seriously because your branding will either make you or break you. It is your first impression. When someone goes to a coffee shop and sees your business card, or they search something on Google and they find your company, your website, that brand is their first impression. You gotta make sure that it's strong and that it really encompasses your brand and your story and what you're trying to offer to that customer. Also, something to consider when you're making your brand is to make sure that you carefully choose the colors and that you carefully choose the style of your logo. You want to make sure that you're hitting your target audience. I'm going to cover some of the color theory later so that way you have a better idea and understanding of what I'm talking about. But you also got to make sure that your brand matches the style of your company. So if you sell super like indie and awesome looking t-shirts with fun graphics, make sure your logo explains that and it has that kind of look and feel to it as well. Also, make sure that once your brand has been created, that you do not stray from it. Hopefully your designer has created a style guide for you so you can reference that to make sure that your brand is seamless across the board. There is nothing worse than an incohesive branding. It makes your company look sloppy and unprofessional. Now I want to cover the types of logos you can create with your designer. There are three kinds of logos. There's a symbol and icon, there's a combination mark, and there's a word mark. I'm gonna start with the symbol and icon. If you're gonna go this route, keep it simple, keep it bold. They need to be very easy to remember. However, if you're in the beginning stages of your company, I don't suggest going this route. Think of companies like Apple, Nike, Target. Those symbols are very easy to remember, but they've been around for a while. Everyone knows them. If you want to at some point just go towards a symbol, I suggest you start with something called a combination mark. That way you have the name of your brand with the icon, and at some point you can move just towards the symbol. That's what I really suggest. Then there's the word marks. These are uniquely styled text logos that spell out your company's name. If you're gonna go this route, make sure to choose a graphic designer that is proficient in making fonts and hand lettering. They have the tools and techniques, and they have an eye for the small detailed. They'll create a stronger looking word mark than your basic graphic designer. An example of some of these are Coca-Cola and Disney. Now I'm gonna talk about, should your branding be classic or contemporary? What kind of branding do you want to have? What kind of style, what kind of look do you want it to have? This is something you really need to think about when you're creating your brand. If your company is more trendy and it's aimed towards people in their 20s and 30s, go for a contemporary brand. This is a type of style that will draw in that kind of audience. There are both pros and cons to the classic contemporary looks of branding. Your branding will eventually have to be updated or rebranded at some point in your company's history. If you choose to go with a classic logo, you'll have less rebranding to do. But if you choose to go with a contemporary logo, you'll have to keep up with the trends if that's something that you want and is important to your company. So classic usually never goes out of style. It's very timeless, it looks put together. It can actually make your brand look more expensive. But they're also usually simplistic in style. If you're gonna go for a contemporary logo, you usually have to rebrand sooner, but it has that playful and indie look. It's usually aimed towards a younger audience, but it has lots of character to it, and it tends to be hand-lettered or hand-drawn. Now we gotta talk about the strategy of color. It is very important that you do not choose a color just because it is your favorite. You gotta look at the big name companies in your industry. What colors are they using? If everyone is using blue, you might wanna stick with that because that's kind of the industry standard and explains what everyone does in that company. Colors can evoke very strong emotions and feelings, so you gotta make sure you choose your color wisely. Red means very passionate, very strong emotions, where yellow is usually very cheerful and very warm. Blue usually communicates networking. It is the corporate color, communications. Orange is high energy, enthusiasm, confidence. Where green is very nature, wealth, luck, growth. And purple is royalty, creative, but it can also be calm and smoothing if you think about the lavender end of the purple spectrum. Next, we're going to talk about finding your designer. There are a lot of great places that you can find designers. You can start with marketing and design firms. They tend to be a little bit pricey, but they do include the whole package, from marketing plans to website design and development to SEO, etc. However, freelancers are also a great way to start. You can find their work on Instagram and Facebook, business pages, to LinkedIn, Behance, and Dribbble. They always have their contact information on there. It's always a good place to start. But you could also choose to work with a friend. However, if you do choose to go down this path, it is super important that you create a contract. You do not want to ruin friendship in the end. Also, if you choose to work with a friend, make sure that creating logos is a strength of theirs and that you like the style that they have as a designer. In the end, it does not matter how cheap you got your branding package for. In the end, it matters how strong of a brand you have. So here are some tips and tricks on how to prepare for your design meeting with your designer. First, you should come prepared with a description of your company and also a list of your competitors. If you have products, bring some examples with you. Or if you're working with your designer through the website or through online sources, make sure that you send them pictures of what your product is so they better understand what your company is, what you do, and also your competitors will help them understand this is what has already been done with logos and how to make you stand out from your competition. Also, I highly suggest that you create a Pinterest board or something like that, so that way designer can take a look at that and see, oh, this is the type of trends and this is the type of style that they like, and it's something for them, for them to work off of. Also, super important, know your budget before going into a project. If you tell a designer your budget, they're more willing to work with you and tell you what you can get for that budget. Remember to keep an open mind when working with your designer, because you hired them as a professional and they understand what's going on in the trends and what's going on in the world of design. Also, remember when you're collaborating with your designer that it takes time to create that perfect branding package and something that you are going to love and it's going to last a long time for your company. So don't rush that process. So now you know a little bit about branding, and hopefully it'll help you to better collaborate with your designer. My contact information is below if you'd like to collaborate with me or talk to me a little bit more about branding. I'd love to connect with you. I look forward to seeing your new brands.